Hey, it's Mike from Drive80.com, and today I'm going to show you how you can make this looping graphic really easily with After Effects. So let's jump into that. First thing you want to do is open up After Effects, and you're going to click on your project window, make sure that you have this panel open, and I'm going to hit Command N since I'm on a Mac, but you can hit Control N if you're on a PC. We just need to make a composition which is going to hold your graphics. So we don't have to name, we don't have to name it. You can just name it Comp 1. I made the width 1080 by 1080. Don't have to touch this stuff. Just make sure. Oh, actually, just make sure it matches mine. So square pixel, 24 frame rate. Let's make that 30, just because we want this to have a little bit more fluidity to it. It'll make sense later on. Duration, I put it at 1:40. That's fine because we're gonna just carve it. We're gonna just snip it down. Okay, so we got our composition. Now we want to grab our graphics. So you want to find where in your desktop is your folder. Now make sure that you are very organized. All of my projects start off with a project name, and then inside of that there's an assets folder, and I save my After Effects file here because it needs to link to these images. It'll make sense as you're working in After Effects. So I do an assets folder, and then I do a JPEG. If I was doing MOV files or Illustrator files or audio files, I would do all of those folders in here, and I also am going to set up my After Effects file to mimic that. Now in here I got a bunch of images, but I'm going to grab these product images that from my friend Jess, who owns Headbands of Hope. You should go check it out. This is something that a company like hers would be able to utilize because they sell products on Instagram, and this is a good way to get the word out that a sale's coming up based on the hiding what's behind that number 2. So since I brought these in here, let's kind of organize this a little bit, and we're going to do assets, and we're going to do Shift Option Command N and do JPEG. If you don't want to do those key commands, you could just hit this little folder here and it makes a folder, but I don't like doing that because I like to be fast and efficient with what I'm doing. But anyway, yeah. All right, JPEG, that's it. That's all I need. Take all these images, I'm going to put this in this folder. And this comp, since it's already open, I'm just going to I'm going to select all these files. I'm going to click on the top one, hold down Shift, and select the bottom one. I'm going to drag them into right on this timeline down here, and there it is. Now the only problem with what we've got going on right now is that number 2 is going to mask these. Now if it's masking these, it's just not going to look right. So what we want to do is, if you're bringing graphics in, you're going to want to have them pretty much fill this square. And I'm going to show you why that's important in a minute. But the first thing we're going to want to do is zoom in here and go to the first second. So I'm going to do 100, which makes me to the second. If I zoom in, it's right here. And I'm going to grab all 3 of these and hit Option right bracket to and all that means is that these images, and even though this one is hiding, this one's hiding this one and hiding this one because they're stacked in layers. If I were to move this layer down, then this one is now on top, and so forth. If I move this down, then that one's on top. So you can understand the whole layer structure here. And the reason I broke these up is because I want to have one of the images show for a second, the other one show for another second, the other one show for another second, and then it's going to loop. And you'll see what that means in a second. So make sure that you cap these off, select them by, again, clicking the top one and holding Shift and clicking the bottom. If you didn't do that, you can do Command A. Again, I'm on a Mac, so I'm speaking in Mac language. You can do Control A if you're on a PC. Now we're going to just do something here. We're going to Control click on it, or right click if you're on a mouse, or sorry, left click if you're on a mouse. And keyframe assistant right here, and I'm going to go sequence layers, and all this is going to do, don't do overlap, just hit OK, and now it's going to make sure that they are all sequenced here. Okay, now I'm going to go to the number 3, the third 3 seconds, whatever that is. I'm going to hit N as in Nicolas Cage without the C, and I'm going to Control click this work area and trim to fit that. All that means is that this video is now 3 seconds long. If I undo that, this video, if I zoom out, technically was like 1:40, which you'll see here. I don't want this to be a minute and 40. I want it to be 3 seconds. So if I click again in that work area, again, if I just hover, it says work area. It says little gray space with these little yellow ends. You know, work area start, work area end. If I right click on it, control click on it, or left click, sorry, control click, trim comp to work area, it means it's going to be 3 seconds long. Perfect. That's all I want this to be. Now, if I do control 0, since I'm in CS6, if you're in Creative Cloud, you can just hit spacebar. And you'll see that's looping. So every 1 second, it now goes to the next image, goes to the next image. So we've got our looping graphic here. Now what we're going to want to do is, actually I'm going to name this looping, lopping, graphics, done. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag this onto this little icon here. And this is the comp icon. It creates a new comp. And the reason I did that is it's going to put that into this one. And you're going to see why that's important in a second. So now we're going to have to create the mask. To do that, we get this type tool up here. If we weren't using type, you could use a shape. Anything that's going to carve out, it's going to create a path for the bottom image to peek through, and you'll understand that shortly. So I hit Command T, or Control T on a PC, and I click, and I hit 2, so we've got the number 2. I'm going to click out of that by just hitting Command Return. Now I want to center this. So I've got my Align panel open, and I'm going to hit center horizontally, center vertically. And I got the number 2. It doesn't matter what color this number 2 is, because you're going to see why in a second. So I grab this comp right here, and if I don't see this no track matte alpha and all that, it's probably because one of these icons is clicked off. Like, so if that was the case, I'd be like, oh my god, where is it? So you can just kind of just click both of these, and all these new features come out. New, but just these hidden features. You're going to want to get this track matte, and I'm going to alpha matte. And all it's saying is that whatever is above me right now, put a mask on me. And a mask is something where whatever the solid object is, everything behind it is going to show. And you'll see what I mean. So let's say that I didn't do that with this, and I had a shape instead. Let's say that I grabbed this, or let's say I grabbed the pen tool, and I drew like some funky stuff here, and I was done, and I brought my stroke up, and I got rid of my fill by clicking that off, and I just brought that up. Now if I did an alpha, now that has to be directly above it. So if I did an alpha, now, see, it's hidden. Now, the reason it's square like that is because the images, if I double click on this, see that again, I said that in the beginning, that they have to fill the screen. So once I do that, I'm going to hit this and hit S for scale and just drag it up. So we've got this box, the blue is fitting here. I grab this one, I hit S, I increase that. I hit here, I hit S, I increase this so the red is filling up. Now if I go back up to this looping graphics, that's the one I put it in, you can see that behind it, it's a lot larger and it's filling a lot more space. And if I drag this around, it's, you're seeing at these points is where the background is showing. So that hopefully is helpful, but I don't want that to be there. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag it above here, and since this alpha was already on, it's saying whatever's above me, I'm going to alpha out. So yeah, so that's that. And if I did alpha inverted, it would do everything that's outside of it. So you could also do that and have it just be like that. But that's, doesn't really work for this technique. So we'll do alpha matte. So we're going to hide things behind here, and they're going to show. But I don't want this black box to be behind it. So the way I'm going to solve that is this square up here. I'm going to double click this, and you'll see that it's on top of everything. That's usually what it does. And I don't want to stroke, I want to fill. So if I click on fill, I hit solid, I hit OK, and stroke, I'm going to get rid of the U, get rid of that. And then the fill color, let's not worry about that yet. Let's take this and just drag it below, and now we can see that we've got this cool little looping graphic. Even though at this point it gets a little weird because the background behind the mask is white. So if I wanted to fix that, I'd double click here, I'd take this, I'd probably move this up, I'd scale it up more. Again, you also want to be working with high-res graphics because you can see how crappy this looks with the blurriness. But if I go back up, now you can see that it's filling. So the number 2 is showing, and it's like, what is behind this? What's behind this number 2? What is it that I need to see? And if your description in your social media is, you've got 2 days to see what this is, or just 2 days left, and you're hiding this, you're creating that sense of urgency. So from a marketing standpoint, that's a really good technique because people buy on urgency, and they also like surprise and things like that. So if I just were to render this and just have it loop, it will just play. And then after that, I would want to pump this out as a, I could do a GIF in that sense. I would use this GIF gun that I've purchased. It was 45 bucks, but it's 35 bucks, I think. This has been a lifesaver because it makes an automatic GIF for me, and I can have all these options, like where it can go and where I can resize it to, frame rate, all this crap. But in this sense, you could also do a video. So I open my render queue, which I had open, and if I didn't have it open, I would make sure that this is the final. So I'd say looping final, and then I would select that, go to composition, and go to add to render queue. And inside here, I have all these options. So I'd want to have my best. If I click this, I want to make sure that this is on best, and this is full. Everything else I don't touch. So I hit cancel since it's already there. This one, I like the preset for H.264. And if you didn't have that, because I know newer versions of After Effects don't have that option, you'd probably want to do QuickTime with H.264. In that case, you'd want to have this drop down, get QuickTime right here, and then format options. You'd want to have this not animation. You want it to be H.264. Again, this is CS6. Things are a little bit different in Creative Cloud. You can also use the media player. But yeah, so I'm going to cancel out of U. I don't have any audio in this, so I don't need that to be on. I don't need to resize this because I want it to be 1080 by 1080, and that's fine, so I'm going to cancel. But since I have the preset, I would hit H.264, and then I'd click my output options right here, and I would find where I want this to live, which would probably be here, and I'd have a folder that said final right there. And then from that would be it, and I'd save it, and then I'd render it, which I would do here. And so I make sure that it's my looping final. Like, go to looping final, see this, and I would hit render. To make it go faster, hit caps lock, so it won't show this preview here. And then it would be done. You'd hear this little chime. I'd go back to my folder where it said final, and here you go. And it would loop. Now it's going to stop at 3 seconds, so if I play it, you'll see it looping. But it's going to stop here. As soon as you upload it to Instagram, Instagram automatically loops. As soon as it comes to the end, it's just going to play it again. Same thing with Facebook does that now. Twitter, I think, stops it. I don't really use Twitter, but I'm sure you may. And LinkedIn, I believe they stop. But if you want to loop it, then I would suggest if you go back in here, you can adjust the settings of this by hitting command. Actually, you could just go back into here, hit Command K, and you can make this be like a minute. You can zoom out of here, and then you could take these, you could duplicate them, and you can push them here. Oh yeah, take caps lock off. You can make sure they're going here. And then it would just, you kind of, that sense it would loop on its own. You could repeat that all the way for a minute, but that's just kind of hackish, and the players that are online pretty much take care of it. So yeah. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you have anything that you'd like to see animated, please let me know as well. You can email me. Let me turn this off. Blah, blah. Say Mike@drive80.com. Bring this down so it's not so freaking gigantic. There we go, Mike@drive80.com. Email me with any questions. Email me with anything that you see online that's a basic animation that you'd love to be able to replicate for your business, and I can make videos based on that, because there's so many things out there that if I just take a look at it, I pretty much can dissect it and understand how it's done, and I can make a video and help people out. Yeah, so thank you very much, and if you want to have an animation done for you, then check out drive80.com, and that's it. So